Hey, everybody. Welcome to Funniest People You've Never Heard of. I'm your host, Peter. And look at this. This is Todd.
Hey, everyone.
Todd's here. And we today chat with Matt O'Brien, very funny Canadian. We talk a lot of things. I didn't know he had a comedy beef. Stay tuned for that.
Juicy, very juicy.
That was pretty nuts. And he also, talks about what it took for him to come down to Canada. Also, the ins and outs of having a comedy wife, someone... his partner who's also in the industry. He kind of has this like athlete's mentality when it comes to the work beyond performing on stage and being an entertainer. And it's a work ethic that, a lot of comedians and just a lot of people in general could follow.
Yeah, I mean, for better or worse, being a success in the comedy world is not just being funny. It's putting in the work. It's getting a little lucky.
Yeah.
And it's coming on our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also, stick around for the end because he refers us to two more comedians who you need to know.
One of them might be his wife, but that's fine. We don't want Matt to get in trouble. Yeah.
He's contractually obligated, but check out us on social media, Instagram, YouTube, all over. And make sure you check out Tequila Especial. This podcast, it has a 2-drink minimum. You can drink with yourself or with a friend, but this is my preferred tequila right here when you're listening to Funniest People Pod.
Find it at tequilaespecial.com. We will be funnier if you drink it before, but you can also drink it during or after.
All right, let's get to the show. Matt O'Brien, hey, what's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, my God. Great. Thanks so much for having me. What an operation you have here.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
It's good to be out of the house.
Behind you is Todd. There's Todd over there.
Good to have you, Matt.
He's going to chime in every once in a while. And then behind me is just more me.
That's you.
That was
it looks like a mugshot where you just got caught with your penis out in the park.
Oh, hey. My bad.
Didn't know it was out.
Was I not supposed to use that picture?
No, it's a great photo. Before we get started, I want to let people know where to find you on social media. Where can they find you on all the apps? And
I love leading with plugs.
Yeah,
plugs are at the end.
Yeah.
Why not do them off the top?
Yeah.
The main one, I guess, is Instagram. That's the one everyone cares about, right?
Sure.
So that's just Matt O'Brien, just my name. I mean, I'm on Facebook. I guess I'm doing a fan page kind of thing. It's fine.
Every social media reference you're doing gets older and older.
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, MySpace,
Friendster.
I'm on Tumblr and Friendster.
I'm mailing out handwritten notes to people to try to get them to come see me.
Nice. Well, you know what's funny? Any other ones you want to mention?
I mean, Threads.
Threads.
I'm on Threads.
Dude, you're a big Threads guy.
I'm a big Threads guy.
You are popular on Threads.
Well, here's the thing: is they started giving me money for Threads.
Really?
That I guess if you like thread enough, they're like you get these little bonuses. So they're like, hey, if you hit this amount of popular threads, we'll give you $500. I'm like, guess what? I'm going to use your app if you give me money.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. You know, what's interesting, I've heard of friends of mine that tour, and you tour around the United States and Canada. Mm-hmm. Our neighbors to the north, where you're from, right?
Just a reminder, it is north of us.
Yeah, it is north.
Canada is north of us.
Peter's showing off that Florida education.
Yeah. Well, I happen to know where Canada is.
Good.
And it's not in Europe. Britney Spears, who famously said,
Did she say that?
She said, I love touring through Europe, and she listed Canada.
I mean, it's in the Commonwealth, I guess.
They speak some French there.
Right,
Yeah.
that's true. That's maybe what threw her off. Love Brit. So what I've heard from friends that tour around the country and the continental United States and the North American continent, is that like Facebook is usually the best way to promote or find gigs in other places outside of maybe New York or LA. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah.
Or do you use that as a resource?
I absolutely use it. Yeah. And also, I just found this out through my analytics is my core audience is women 35 to 65.
Whoa.
I don't know what I'm doing for that.
That's hot.
But it's very hot. Very sexy analytics. But then they're all only on Facebook.
Really?
So,
oh, wow, yeah.
When I post that I'm doing shows on the road on Facebook, I'll get these like women coming in, 35 to 60, like, and very like, and they just like it. I guess because I talk about Costco a lot. I don't know what it is.
You know what? That's kind of interesting looking at your audience and who you appeal to, because I find that women like my comedy.
Yeah.
And guys kind of just like put up with it a little bit.
Yeah, oh yeah, I get the exact same feeling. But I think it's mostly because guys are guys about other guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, they see a guy doing comedy and they're like, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah.
Fuck this guy. I could do that too, you know? Oh, my first set ever, my buddy APL, Adam Preston Lord, from college. I said like, you dumb. You know APL.
Yeah, APL. Yeah, he's a cool dude.
He used to tell girls that his name stood for abnormal penis large. So
That's it. That's a great joke.
Real great
That's
bit
all
at
he
the
needs.
bar. No one ever believed it.
No.
But I remember I was like going to my first open mic, and he said he wanted to do comedy too. And I was like, okay, we're going to go together.
Right.
We're going to both be stand-up comedians, and it's going to be the best. Yeah. And then he just never came with me. And now he has a beautiful family and a lovely life. So he probably made the better choice.
Who would ever want that?
Well, he's not on a podcast, though.
He's not on a podcast in Hollywood,
true.
California. I literally remember the first set I did, the first open mic, I looked at my friend and I went, I want to do this for the rest of my life. And I've never said that about anything I've ever done.
Not even Coke?
Not even cocaine. I was like, maybe once or twice on the holidays, but never, ever, ever.
So wait, where are you start in Canada? Where are you starting out?
Toronto.
Toronto. Wow,
Yeah.
big city.
Biggest one. That's the place to go in Canada.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I was interning at MTV Canada at the time.
Whoa, did you interact with Dan Levy at all?
Yeah, I
He
got
was
his
working
lunches. Yeah.
Did you get his
Yeah,
lunches?
I got his lunches because he was one of the hosts.
What was he hosting back then?
I thought you were going to say what was his lunch order, not what show. So I was a little thrown off. Now I'm still curious about what he was having for
Dan
lunch.
is very peckish. We know this.
I think it was healthy. I remember a lot of salads,
Salmon
and stuff like
salad,
that.
probably,
Yeah,
yeah.
very nice stuff.
We got to make, okay, Todd obviously hasn't had lunch yet. We'll make sure we have lunch before the next recording.
I always come hungry.
Remember the show The Hills?
Yes.
He hosted The Hills after show.
Whoa.
And the craziest part about that is that me and my college buddies used to watch The Hills all the fucking time.
Yeah, of course.
We love The Hills for some reason. And I told him that when I was getting his lunch. I was like, man, me and my friends love The Hills. He's like, do you want to be a guest on The Hills after show as like a panelist? And so I was a panelist on The Hills after show for like 6 times.
And that's your first credit?
the very first like TV credit, basically.
Dude, that's amazing.
Yeah. And then I remember the last time it got too real because they were talking about fashion and stuff. And I'm just sitting there like blank staring. They're like, what do we think of Lauren's dress this week? And I'm just like, I don't know. I kind of just did this as a bit. Like I didn't want to
Right.
continue doing this.
Through that time, did you continue to get lunches and stuff from him?
Yeah. I was
That's
still an
awesome.
intern there.
Yeah.
And the craziest part is that the one comedy special you could get in Canada, they were called Comedy Nows.
Okay.
At the time. They don't exist now. I had to help set those up as well because it was the same studio.
Yeah.
And I remember I just started doing comedy and I was just like, I'm going to do one of these specials one day. And I did one of those specials 3 years after that.
Wow.
I ended up doing, and I saw interns setting up the room for me. And I was just like, everything really comes full circle sometimes. Like
That's
it's
amazing.
surreal. Yeah. It airs in Canada in perpetuity forever until the universe ends. So
Right.
I'll go back home for Christmas to my parents' place, turn on the Comedy Network, and it's me from like 13 years ago, like stupid hair, skinny jeans. And I'm like, oh my God, it's still airing. It's probably on air right now.
We will be
that's
cutting
awesome.
to it right now.
Yeah, we're going to find it.
Hello! I'm happy to be here, man, in Toronto. Guys, you happy to be in Toronto or what? Oh, what a great town. I love being in like a big city. I live here. Something people should tell you about living in a big city is you're gonna see a lot of gross shit. Living in a big city. Everybody has like a gross out story of something gross they've seen. I was riding the subway one time. I saw a nun puke into a box of cereal. I didn't know that was a thing you could see. Like, it was just like, and no one looked. And even after, she's just like, Jesus Christ. Like, that's a very appropriate reaction. That's. The first week I lived here, I was coming out of my apartment, I yawned, a pigeon flew past my face, and the tip of its wing touched my tongue. What do you do? Like, that's. I was like, ah! Like, what do you. Like, licking mailboxes and kissing homeless people? Like, I don't know what. Even people walking by were like, that's happened to me once. I'm like, no. It shouldn't happen to anyone ever. Pigeon touching the tongue.
And we're back.
I'll send you a link.
Dude, you were so funny back then. You know, this brings up one of the things I was curious about. You know, people in the comedy world and, you know, comedy nerds will be quick to label people like, oh, they're an LA comic, they're a New York comic,
Yeah.
for different reasons, Chicago, etc. Nashville, you know, you can name any city, Florida. Someone once told me I'm a Floridian and not a Florida comic. And I don't quite know what that means because I talk a lot about Florida. But what would you say Canadian humor is, you know, just at large?
The first thing that comes to mind is that we're very goofy. Super goofy people, which comes from like our British roots, I think, because British humor is very goofy and very out there kind of stuff. We're very goofy, very self-deprecating too, which I had to kind of lose when I moved here.
Oh, why is that?
Because Americans, I find, are very like hyper confident people.
Yeah.
And so when I would go on stage, I'd be like, hey, you know, I'm just another piece of shit. And I'd see the crowd be like, okay, I guess you're a piece of shit then. We'll treat you as such.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
Like someone gave me a note once about like just comedy. There's only one microphone.
Yeah.
So give them a reason why they're listening to you.
Yeah.
And if you're going to treat yourself poorly, they're going to treat you poorly. And also I got this other note. It's like, don't you want to get laid? You know what I mean? Like, hey dude, what are you saying this about yourself for? You know what I mean? And like, I feel like a lot of comedians fall into that trap, right?
I guess no Canadian comedians trying to fuck. That's the lesson here. We're up there not trying to have sex.
Right.
We're just trying to get these little funnies out. But it's no, I get that completely, and it's something you can get away with in Canada, and not here at all. So I really had to teach myself American confidence, and I've heard that from other Canadians down here. It's like, wow, I'm trying to learn this American confidence. I'm trying to be like what they need down here, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And is it, you know, I mean, is it more of like an LA thing where
it's kind of all over?
Yeah, all over.
It's really all over. Like now that I started touring the States, I'm just like, yeah, you got to go up there and be like, I'm giving you a reason that you're here. Like, I'm not going to make you second guess why you paid money to come out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I get that too, but it's just like, it's weird. Cause like, yeah, it's just like, I'm self-deprecating because I think it's fun. It's funny to be like the stupidest guy in the room to me.
Yeah. And humor kind of comes from that too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in films, you know, the hero isn't always like the funniest, or like, you know, like, I don't know, there's something funny about losing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know who said that necessarily, but there's just something funny about losing. Yeah, Wayne Gretzky.
What's that famous Gretzky quote? Losing is hilarious. You should do it whenever possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Give us a quick lesson on Canadianisms, because I almost said a boot.
Yeah.
Like a footwear item.
Yeah. It's the OUT. So we really pronounce the OUT in words. So a boat.
Oh yeah. What do you? Okay. Yeah, this is fun. What do you call a hat that you wear in the winter?
That's a toque.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a beanie.
It's a beanie. I can't say beanie. I can't say beanie. I don't know what Fahrenheit is, and I refuse to figure out how long a mile is.
You do often rock a Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do
and
like
that's real.
I do like a Jean Cuisine. You're wearing denim too. Dad? You kind of do look like my dad, actually. Don't scratch it out. He could be my dad. This guy f***s. That's what you're saying. He's cummed all over Orange County. Who is this man to you? My dad. He's your dad. Not loving your relationship. He could be your dad too. He comes a lot. Oh, he loves a good cum. That's my pops. We call him Mr. Cum. What's that? First-hand experience? What are you? All right. Good night. Oh, that's how you got here. Yeah, the phrasing needs to be different on that. I've been up here 3 minutes. I've said come 9 times. Come, 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 my lady, come, 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 oh, come, come, oh, say, can you come? How many was that? Were you still counting? 27! The Rain Man of come over here. Absolutely. Yeah.
What's the Florida version of a Canadian tuxedo?
Florida version of a Canadian
What's
tuxedo.
a Florida tuxedo?
Like a Florida uniform is
Like an orange jumpsuit.
I was picturing that. Yeah.
right out of jail. Yeah. Andy Dufresne, just going through miles of filth. It would be flip flops at work,
Yeah.
board shorts, and then, I mean, it doesn't matter what you're wearing on top. You're just definitely sunburned.
Yeah.
100% sunburned.
With some bad tattoos, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. I had a
Weird
friend.
piercings.
Yes, exactly. I had a friend who, in college, he would get like living room tattoos. Like,
What's
he
a
would-
living room tattoo?
Never heard of that. You said that too casual. You
get a
know when
living
you're in a
room
living room and you're getting a tattoo?
that-
Nope.
yeah.
Never heard of that.
He would get tattoos of like furniture. No, he would get. He would invite a tattoo artist over because they would like an apprentice over because they would do it for cheaper and outside of the studio, and he would just like sit on his couch and get tattoos, and they looked really bad. Like,
Thank God you ended with bad. Of course, we were all leading that it would be terrible.
Naturally.
Also, just the least sanitary place in your house, next to
Yes.
the bathroom. And like, how often are you cleaning? What are you getting a tattoo on the couch?
on the
like, what-
couch, yeah. Oh, yeah. This is a college couch too,
Oh,
and not even like a cloth.
no.
couch. Yeah, it
Ew,
was
like
bad.
a leather, like
Yeah.
cold, sticky.
Yeah, it's not fun.
Oh my God.
So you're talking about, your first TV credit, you're on MTV,
Yeah.
the Hills panel. Were you still living in Canada when you got Conan?
No.
Okay.
Conan was first of all, I didn't do stand up on Conan. I was like a sketch performer.
Right.
And so I moved down here and then kind of linked up with other Canadians. And then there was a Canadian, Levi McDougall, who was one of the main writers on Conan.
Cool.
I knew him back from Toronto. And yeah, he just texted me one day. He was like, "Hey, do you want to come in and do a sketch on Conan?" And he's like, "I wrote something I think you'd be good for." I was
Yeah.
like, "This is why you move here."
Yeah,
I was like, this is the craziest. Because like my biggest dream would be to be on that show in some capacity, in any capacity. And yeah, and then I was like, yeah. And then the next day I came in, did a sketch, met Conan, I met the head writer who was also named Matt O'Brien.
Wow.
Because we had a thing where our IMDb pages were the same for the longest time. And when I would get booked on things and they thought they were getting the head writer for Conan.
Wow. That's why you name your kid after the head writer
That's
of Conan.
why you do it. So even when I first moved to LA, I was getting booked on stand-up shows, all these things. And then I'd show up and they'd be like, "Man, I can't believe we got the head writer for Conan." Because he also used to write for Brooklyn Nine-Nine, SNL, all this other stuff. But then also my Canadian credits were in there too. So they're like, "Yeah, it looks like you did Just for Laughs a couple times and like MTV and like Video on Trial and Much Music." Like, I don't even know what that is. But
What do you roll
would
with
they ever?
it? Yeah, go
would they
ahead.
ever find out, or how?
Yeah, I would
you-
admit.
okay.
I would. I mean, after the gig, after I did.
After the check
The
cleared.
cash is in my hand.
Yeah.
And by the way,
And they'd be like, "Oh, so when are you at Conan next?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know." You know, they bring me in. So I'm not that guy. Anyway, I'll see you in hell. Yeah.
that's so fascinating. Right now, I feel like we're at the tail end of like crowd work clips and like stand-up clips.
Yeah.
And like how sustainable is it for you to be able to post those clips on a regular basis and generate new material while also, we're in a period in Los Angeles where it's really hard to get people out on the live shows and you can't be on the road every day.
Yeah.
What's your game plan right now? And like, what's your attitude towards that?
Here's the thing. A lot of comics complain about the amount of filming they have to do. And I've been making videos and filming for years now. Like I'll make little sketches. I do a lot of green screen stuff and I like doing it.
Yeah.
So I like filming my sets.
Okay,
I
yeah,
like
yeah.
editing it and stuff like that. I find it exciting in a way, just because I've performed for so many years not recording it and being like, "Oh, I hope this one show, does something for me, but it better happen that night because it doesn't exist anywhere else."
Yeah.
Whereas you film it now and you're just like, "Oh, now it could go off online and something could happen." And I think it's exciting. I don't know. I like doing it, and
So you embrace.
I embrace it.
that thing. Yeah. Because, it can, like you're saying, like some comics complain about it and it's like, all right, this is the part of the job I don't love.
Yeah.
But if you can really embrace it and just be like, all right, this is just a part of the job now.
Yeah, I guess having done this for almost 17 years, I've seen the turnaround of how comedy changes and evolves and stuff like that. I remember like back in the day, older comics were complaining about Twitter. They're like, "Why would we put our jokes on Twitter? Someone's going to steal your joke because it's on Twitter." And now it's just like every comic tweets and posts everything kind of thing. So it's just, you just got to roll with it kind of thing. And like seeing how much success can come from posting clips.
Yeah.
Like people I know around me that like have gotten so much success. Like, why wouldn't you? Like, who cares?
True. And also like, what's the next thing? Cause like Matt Rife exists.
Yeah.
Don't say his name 3 times or he'll appear. Matt Rife already exists. Will Burkhardt exists. And, comedians who have kind of like made their name for themselves in crowd work and like clips like that. Do you think there's like, what's the next thing, or could we even predict it?
I don't even know. I do find it weird that people are like, because I post like some crowd work stuff online and people would be like, oh, look who's a crowd work comic all of a sudden. Look who's doing crowd. And they'll be like, you're stealing this from Stavros. You're doing Matt Rife. I'm like, but in my head, I'm like, the years I've done crowd work always.
Yeah.
I like my sets to be a mixture of crowd work and written material because it feels exciting and fresh at the show. But all of a sudden, if you do crowd work, people are like, that's the only thing you do. That's what we're drifting into right now is like, you do one thing and they're like, that's the thing you do and you better just do that because that's what we expect of you.
Can I ask you a question as someone who's not a stand-up? To me, you don't want to post your set if you're doing that on multiple nights because then everyone knows your jokes when they come see you live. The crowd work is the once in a lifetime in that moment thing. That's, to me, the logic of it.
That's it. And that's even with this podcast. This is what you do. Like, this will get you some little clippy claps, right? Yeah. And then you post those and that's you're feeding the machine kind of thing. And I got, I guess I'm not starting a beef here or whatever, but I got in a little tiff with, remember Christopher Titus?
Yeah.
So I posted something about crowd work or whatever on Threads, and then
Threads guy, you're a big Threads guy.
He like quoted me and rethreaded it, and he was just like, these comics like this guy don't know how to do work. He's like, I come out with a new hour every year. He's like, you work on a new hour, then you work on another hour. That's how Carlin did it. And he's like, you're posting these clips, you're wasting all this. He's like, you got to post more material. And then I just quietly responded. I was just like, well, it allows us to post more clips if we post crowd work, blah, blah, blah. That's the only reason we're doing it. And then we can work on our sets. And he just got he was so old school angry about it. It was so weird.
That's like, it's still like the work.
Yeah.
Like whether you're putting your work into this or you're putting your work into this bowl or this bowl, it's like the same work. So what are you complaining about?
Who cares, man?
Like, and also we don't need comics like that going after other comics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, ape shall not kill ape. Like, let's have each other's back. Like,
honestly,
there are people that I've beefed with that I'm just like, you know what, man? Why, dude? Why can't we just like help each other out? And that's a frustration that he must have because he's starting to feel old.
Well,
I'm saying that. I'm saying that.
That's why I didn't really let it get to me because I've gotten that my whole career where an older comic will look at what I'm doing and be like, oh, I would never do that. Why? How dare you do that? And I'm like, well, do you, I'll do me. Like, it doesn't matter what the hell happens, man.
Yeah, exactly. And there's more avenues for entertainment and just stand up at large. To get to what Todd was saying, you're talking about, having somebody see your material and then see that same type of material live. I've heard from a lot of people, and you let me know if this is true, that sometimes audiences enjoy kind of singing along in a way to
100%.
To jokes, and you've experienced that.
Absolutely. It's the weirdest thing. It's like I did a show in Alameda recently, and I have this joke about ghosts or whatever. Sure. And it was kind of a smaller crowd, so I did a shorter version of the joke. And there was this guy in the front row. He stopped the show. He goes, whoa, 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 whoa. He goes, there's more to that. he goes, do the rest. And I'm like, coach? I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, no, I saw this joke online. That's why I came here. He goes, wow. Can you do the rest of that ghost joke? And then I did it. And then I just saw him sit there and go, all right, good. Like, he didn't even laugh loud. He was like, cool. I saw it live.
First off, I'm picturing him standing up in like a gym teacher's outfit. Like, he's got a hat and a whistle. He's like, time out.
Yeah.
And then, oh man, is there a joke that you've written that you love and you still perform and still enjoy performing?
There's one about it gets a laugh 50% of the time.
That's better than my conversion rate.
But it's like one of these jokes where like it either gets absolutely nothing or a lot. And even if it gets nothing, there'll be one person that comes up to me being like, I love that joke so much.
Yeah.
It's about how, it's a very stupid joke where there was a fly in my face for a while and I was swatting at it. And I was like, do you ever think about when there's a fly in your face for a bit that maybe your shrunken friends are on it and they're trying to get a hold of you? And then I do this,
shout out Rick Moranis.
Yeah,
of course.
Fellow Canadian as well. And yeah, it's like one of those stupid, goofy jokes.
Which is also a tweet. It could be a tweet.
It was actually.
Oh, really?
It was. And that's actually how I like try out a lot of my jokes.
No kidding.
And I got called out on that recently because I have a joke about how to me, marriage is sneezing 3 times in a row and hearing someone in the next room yell, Jesus Christ. And I tweeted that and it got a lot of response. And then I started doing it on stage. And I posted a clip of it the other day. This is how fast I work.
Sure,
I tweeted this 3 weeks ago, and I have a clip. I posted it, and then a guy was like, "You stole this from a meme, man. How dare you steal this from a meme?" And I took a screenshot of my tweet. I was like, "Was this it?" And he goes, "Yeah." Never mind. Like they don't.
Dang.
When you have something that like goes viral or whatever, they separate the person from it.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, that the internet made that for me. That was not made by a person.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. That was AI generated.
Which is true because I've talked to other comics about this. They're like, when your video gets a certain amount of views, the comments change. They from talking directly to you, like, hey man, you suck, or I like this, good for you, to hey, look at that, look how weird he looks. And they start talking about like you're not there reading the comments.
Yeah.
So
right.
So
Yeah,
it's like they're talking to the rest of the comments, being like, "Don't you guys think this guy sucks?" But then I'll respond. I'll be like, "Hey, I just trying to make people laugh here," and they'll be like, "Look at this loser! He has all this time." And I'm like, "Of course." I'm like, "I'm literally on the toilet right now."
Well, that's so interesting because I know friends who have like managers and agents that come up with social media strategies, and like a lot of the time it's engagement in the comments, but that also means fighting in the comments.
Yeah.
And, for someone that embraces that part of the job, that must be hard to read,
Yeah.
right? You don't have, you're doing this.
Me and my friends call that poking the fire. So somebody will be like, "Hey, you're a piece of shit," and be like, "Yeah. How big a piece of shit am I? Come on." It's like helping the algorithm go. You're like,
Tell 3 of your friends how big of a piece of shit I am.
Do you think I suck? I suck, right? Come on. Keep going.
Like online is just such an infinite crowd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
it's a lot. And it's people that will say whatever the hell they want because it's so easy for them to do it. But then if you call them out on it, they'd be like, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that, I guess."
yeah. Oh, I didn't realize you'd be reading this. I thought you had a team or something like that.
I'm just being angry. And like I've had a lot of guys being like, "Man, I'm sorry, I'm just having a rough day." Like, well, I'm glad that I was your shooting range for your shitty day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks for picking me today. Go check out my buddy Peter's Instagram later. But getting back to like your move from Canada to Los Angeles or like making that jump, was there like a thing that spurred that? Because I imagine there's a ton of people that just kind of stayed up in Toronto and like remain there.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories up there in Canada of people that just be like, "Hey, I went down to LA, ran out of money, and now I'm back."
Right.
So it's like and so many people I talked to, and before I left, there was all these old comics being like, "You're gonna go broke." They were like the ghosts of Christmas past. They're like, "Well, don't do it.
Yeah.
Stay here." I'm like, I don't want to make loonies for the rest of my life. But the thing is you just do as much as you can in Canada, so you hit the ceiling real quick. So at the time it was like the Comedy Now special just for laughs. Once you do a JFL gala, there's no late night talk shows up there. There's no sitcoms when I was there. So it's like you do it, and then you get a good headline set, and the ones that were good headliners up there quickly were successful down here.
Yeah.
So I do find a lot of comics went here too early.
Oh, interesting.
And then they went back, kind of thing.
Really? Because they got discouraged?
Yeah, and they just didn't have enough. You have to have a lot of material to really make an impact here. And also to suck your ego up into your butt and like go to the Comedy Store potluck every Monday. right, even though you were a touring headliner in Canada.
Sure, yeah. Exactly.
So, and like I would go to that potluck and other Canadians visiting would be like, "Oh my God, what are you doing here? You're trying to get 3 minutes?" And I'm like, "Yeah, don't look at me." Yeah. Is that a dog or a laugh? Or someone choking? That's a real person. That's a human being.
We might want to check and see if that's just 4 Pomeranians stacked in a trench coat. One ticket for the human comedy show, please! Quiet down, body! That's not gonna get old. I like that. Yeah, do not hold it back. I've been doing comedy a while. I've heard all types of laughs. I want that one, and I'll take that to the bank. Yeah. I feel like I'm training a dolphin. Nobody else better have a f***ing weird laugh, too. I don't want to hear a honk or an oink from this side. We only got one weird laugh per show. Yeah, that's f***ing damn right.
Has your time in Los Angeles been made easier because, you have a partner who also does comedy?
Yeah. Oh my God.
What's that like?
Infinitely. My wife, Julia Ladkowitz, we've been together for, 14 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's great. I mean, at first I'm like, it's going to be tough because I'm trying to get booked on a show and then you're trying to get booked on a show. And then sometimes we're like, hey, can we come together kind of thing?
Sure.
And I'm like, I wonder if bookers are going to get annoyed by that. But a lot of bookers like that. So
really?
They would be like, hey, I'm booking the show. Can both of you come? Because now I have 2 good comics.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And just being able to be at home and just bounce jokes off of each other and stuff like that. It's not all the time, but it's like, and then someone who just understands the industry and then.
That is tough. I mean, I know a lot of people who, have artistic partners and they have a hard time collaborating. But, what was the thing where you two kind of broke through the wall and was like, oh, okay, we can share jokes or bounce jokes off of each other, as you just said, or ask each other for help? Like, did that come early, or was there a moment where you're like, okay, great?
There was earlier in our careers and our relationship where we're like, let's keep this separate kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, you're not even really supposed to be dating another comedian. That's
Dude,
like the number one rule.
Yeah, you can't shit where you eat.
Yeah.
And then also, like, if you break up with them, they're gonna, spread your shit everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. It's like it's dating somebody you work with. Basically, it's like you're not supposed to do that. But it worked for us. And at first we're like, let's keep our work life very separate kind of thing. But then people started requesting us together kind of thing.
Okay.
And we did host a show together on stage at the same time a couple times. People really liked that.
What was there a big moment or like a joke or like a show where you're like, all right, these things are married and maybe we should get married too?
The first one was the first time we had to get Plan B.
Really? Because you're like, oh, I'm gonna have a great bit about this, and she's like, I'm gonna have a great bit about this too.
Literally, and I was like, well, I bought the Plan B, and she's like, well, I'm taking the Plan B.
Wow!
And so it was like one of those things. It's like, okay, we'll both say it on stage to see who has the funnier joke about it, kind of thing. And we both had great bits about it, but we just both did it. So it's like sometimes experiences will happen where she'll be like, this is mine.
Yeah.
Like something weird will happen. I'll be like, again, we got to see who has the funnier bit at the next show.
I love you, babe, but let's
see
do
who's better
this.
at it.
Yeah, exactly. That's incredible. Man.
Yeah.
That's so fun. One thing I want to end every show with is, this is, funniest people you've never heard of, but like, is there somebody that we should have on the show that you would recommend, and what would you say about them to their face or not to their face?
I think legally I have to say my wife.
Right, there you go.
Julia.
Tell us about Julia. Yeah,
Julia Ladkowitz,
Great.
originally from Ottawa, Ontario, hilarious headlining comedian.
Yeah.
Currently in Canada, touring right now. But yeah, has worked her ass off. But yeah, I think for sure Julia Ladkowitz should be on the show. You should look her up.
Great. Well, and by the way, what do you find funny?
It's hard. I actually just started listening to comedy albums again.
Great.
Because I started teaching.
Christopher Titus? You're listening to Christopher
I
Titus?
listen to a lot of Titus right now. And there's one bit about how he got in a fight with a guy online, and I don't really like it that much.
No, but what comedy albums have you been listening to?
I listened to Kyle Kinane's latest one.
Yeah.
And it's just so perfect.
Fuck, he's so
he's
good, right?
He's such a, like, I'm so jealous of the way he does comedy. And it's crazy because we did a Canadian Netflix is a Joke show recently at the Netflix is a Joke Festival. And it was all Canadians on. And I saw Kyle Kinane was just in the audience watching because he's a fan of the couple of the Canadians. And it was like, I was like, oh shit. It made me so nervous to be like, it takes a lot for a comedian to sit in a crowd and watch a comedy show.
Yeah.
And it really kind of threw me for a second.
I this is like an inside baseball question, and we'll get out on this, but that's interesting because sometimes when I'm on stage, and I've talked to other comics about this, you're adjusting on the fly. You do a lot of you do crowd work, and you remind people that you're present. But when you see somebody in the crowd that maybe you want to impress, whether it's industry person or a comedian like Kyle Kinane, do you go, okay, better switch up the material to have a successful night, or are you going to decide to go by the game plan?
That's older me would have been like, if there's industry there, change it up to appease the industry.
Sure.
But that has backfired on me so many times.
Really? How?
Because you're not yourself kind of thing. And like my biggest example of that is I did a Just for Laughs gala. It was at the Place des Arts, which is 3,000 people.
Wow.
And I was like, I better wear a suit. No one told me this, but I'm like, I got to impress these people. I'll wear a suit. Never wore a suit on stage in my life.
Oh, wow.
I walk out on stage in front of 3,000 people, and the first thought in my head is, this is a huge mistake. I'm like walking like a robot. I'm like, hello. And then I had a fine set.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I would have had such a much better set if I wasn't in my head trying to impress people.
Right.
So yeah, my biggest advice is like, just literally be yourself.
Yeah.
There's something about being yourself, especially as a stand-up comedian, that people will gravitate towards.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't try to impress people, just be yourself and let them come to you.
And that means not necessarily adjusting your material that you were planning on doing because there's someone in the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I'm even seeing it with one of my friends, Steph Tolev, who's like really popping off right
Brilliant.
now. And just is literally being her most authentic self. That's all you can do.
Yeah, that's it.
And I've been told they're like, this whole industry is a pendulum and it swings back and forth. So maybe you're not the thing right now, but guess what? Could come around in a couple of years. So just have patience and wait for your time.
Well,
And
Matt,
be ready for it.
Thank you so much for your time today and for your patience.
Yes, thank you. Very Canadian. Thanks for having a Canadian on.
Yeah. Oh, dude, we gotta have a Canadian on. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Thanks everyone for listening. Thanks, Matt. All right, cool. See you guys. Funniest People You've Never Heard Of is a production of Toby or Not Toby Productions. Executive producer, Todd Fields. Producer and host, Peter Murphy. Studio space provided by Third Wheel. Theme song written and performed by Justin Fields. Sponsored by Tequila Especial. Don't forget to like and subscribe.